And you can already hear that clicky noise happening. And this is why it's so important that you keep the resonance knob right up there, because it makes a really sharp and clicky sound when it jumps like this. Hello and welcome to haQ attaQ. My name is Jakob, I'm your host, and you're watching a haQ attaQ episode. This is Poison 202 by Jim Pavlov, also known as Jim Audio. Not so long ago I put up a track called 8 times Poison 202, and it's basically just that, a track in where I'm using Poison 202 as an audio unit loaded 8 times, and then I have MIDI tracks just driving some presets that I made. I later on also published a vlog in where I was going through all of the sounds that made that track possible. And so I received requests from some of you viewers asking me to make tutorials on how to make those sounds. And something that was requested a lot was the bass drum tutorial. I'll show you my strategies for making bass drums. So for the sound I made for my 8 times Poison 202 video, I was thinking about 2 things mainly: the attack and transient of the sound, and also the body. And we're gonna start by making the clicker sound. Go to the balance knob and turn it down to oscillator 1, so we'll only hear this one. And right now we've got a saw wave loaded. And this is important. Now, of course, you can use any waveform you wish. I mean, you choose after your own taste, of course. And we're gonna be making a clicky sound, so any other wave could work. But I used a square wave for mine. And I also brought down the pitch 2 octaves. So far so good. Now I didn't touch anything else. The next thing I did was to go to the pitch envelope. And the pitch envelope is brilliant. I love it when developers put pitch envelopes inside the synthesizers. If you're using a modular synthesizer, then you can easily create a pitch envelope by linking an envelope module to the pitch of an oscillator. That's basically what this is. This envelope only has 2 controls, one for attack and one for decay. Now you can also set the envelope to work in negative mode or positive mode. And we're gonna use it in the positive mode. So we're gonna bring up the positive mode a bit. And nothing is happening right now because we haven't done any changes here. And for a kick drum, we need the pitch envelope to be quite short. The next thing we're going to do is to make sure that our sound doesn't click at the end. And to do that, we need to go to the amplifier envelope right here. Don't give it a too long tail. Unless you're doing 808 sounds, then you might just want that. Raise it a little bit so we won't have any clicky noises when the sound ends. I'm also gonna bring down the sustain and up the decay a bit. And that's okay for now. This is already sounding like a bass drum. But the way I shaped my clicky sound was with the help of the filter, band pass filter. Resonance to the maximum. Nothing is happening because we're not really affecting the filter with the envelope. And to do that, we need to increase strength on this envelope knob. And suddenly we have stuff happening. Now the way that the envelope is shaped also shapes the way that the filter plays. And right now the sustain is all the way up. So let's pull that down. The next thing we're going to do is the same thing we're doing with the amplifier envelope. Make sure that the filter doesn't click out at the end. And now we're going to shape our filter by using the decay fader right here. And you can already hear that clicky noise happening. And this is why it's so important that you keep the resonance knob right up there, because it makes a really sharp and clicky sound when it jumps like this. Now at this stage we have a pretty good clicking noise, but we could easily make this into a lasery clicky noise by pulling up the strength. Now that's too much for me, but I just want to show you the possibilities of shaping your sounds if you know how to use your tools. But at this point, I realize one thing. There is just too much mid in the sound. So instead of going to the patch page and pulling down the mid, I can easily fix this with the help of the filter by just choosing another filter type. Let's choose a low pass filter. Now that sounds much better. Now we're quite done here, but I just want to show you a trick before we jump into oscillator 2 and start working on the body of our kick drum. You can now control the shape of the snappy sound by increasing the pitch of the envelope. So right now it sounds like this, but if we raise it to its original value, it sounds like this. Let's just keep it there. Now let's jump into oscillator 2 and make sure that we only hear oscillator 2 by turning up the balance all the way to the right. Here we have a regular saw wave loaded once again, and for the body I would suggest a sine wave. And this is supposed to be the body, and so we want it to be bassy. Pull down the pitch, 24 semitones meaning 2 octaves. Now when I play this, you can hear that the sound clicks out at the end. As I did with oscillator 1, we're gonna go to the amplifier envelope and raise the release. So we get away with the clicky sound. We're also gonna make the start a little bit softer. We're also gonna shape the length of the sound, and to do that we pull down on the sustain and use the decay to control the length of our sound. So let's preview our kick sound and what it sounds like by mixing in the snappy, more transient heavy sound that we made using oscillator 1. Now let's pull down to oscillator 2 and experiment a bit with the pitch envelope. Just a little bit, and then we're gonna fiddle with the decay. And we're gonna make our sound a little bit longer. That's quite a nice sound. There's just one tiny bit before I feel satisfied. Jump to the patch menu. Let's dip just a little bit on the mids here. That's quite a nice sound. Now before I end this episode, I'm just gonna add that when you come this far with a sound, I suggest you save the preset, also sample it, maybe process the sound further with a compressor, maybe an envelope follower, adding a bit more punch and transients to your kick. And then you can go back and just fiddle with the amplifier envelope, maybe the pitch envelope. You can also switch between waveforms, just experiment with it. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. All comments and ratings are very much appreciated. I've also got a Patreon account, so if you want to support me in that way, you can see the address right here, and you can also find it down in the description, together with an app link for Poison 202, which I highly recommend. It's such a great synthesizer. As usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go and finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.